Well, good morning and welcome to Wake Up America. It's Monday, January 24th. I'm Carl Higbie in for Rob Finnerty alongside Ambassador to Germany, Rick Grinnell, Alex Kramer, and Christina Thompson. How you guys doing?
Good.
Well, how are you?
This is nice. I mean, I'm not at the same table or the same couch as you guys yet, but it's nice to be in for Rob.
I don't know if there's room. Is it too early for you?
Early.
That's right. You're a West Coast guy.
Well, Rick, you can just lay across all three of us. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
We got a packed house today. I kind of like it.
Yeah, we definitely do. All right, I want to get to some of the stories we are following for you this morning. President Biden contemplating sending in several thousand troops to Eastern Europe and as the Baltics over tensions between Russia and Ukraine, while Secretary of State Anthony Blinken remains optimistic there could be a compromise.
Meanwhile, several countries order staff to withdraw from their respective embassies, including the United States, who instruct family members of embassy personnel to leave Ukraine as a possible Russia invasion looms.
Plus, former vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin set to battle the New York Times over an editorial linking her to a deadly mass shooting in Arizona. We'll break it down with our panel of experts.
And we guarantee you will never see anything like it again. The most amazing divisional round series in the history of the NFL, which saw all four games end in walk-off fashion.
Man. And I want to welcome in our powerhouse panel. We're going to start commentary with editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler. We also have with us best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halperin, and my guest host, a former ambassador to Germany, Rick Grinnell. All right, first, there's some breaking news this morning I want to get to. The U.S. military forces are reacting and monitoring multiple inbound threats following an attack of Abu Dhabi. I guess they intercepted two missiles from the Houthi rebels that are claiming responsibility for this. Rick, I mean, you can see this on screen. We were talking about this. This is a big deal, no?
Look, this is really concerning what we've been watching between the Saudis and Yemen. There's been attacks back and forth. There's been conflict going on. Mm-hmm. And now what we see is the Houthi rebels beginning to try to drag in other countries around the region. Clearly, when they take two missiles and launch them at Abu Dhabi, this is an assault on American and American allies. There's no question. I've been already texting with friends in Abu Dhabi this morning who are very concerned what's happening. The embassy is on alert. We need to be watching this very closely. As you know, Carl, this is the center of American commerce in the Middle East. In Abu Dhabi and Dubai, we have a lot of American companies there. A lot of Americans are based there. And suddenly they're under attack. Yeah, no,
I've spent some time over there, obviously in Iraq, and we did a bunch of time just north of Yemen, things like that. But Mark, I want to get to you on this. I mean, we're going to see you have a number of shipping channels right off that area. You have, like Rick was saying, we have business there. I don't think people understand how much we could be affected by some further instability in that region. Do you?
This is one of the hot spots on the globe. I put Pakistan, North Korea, Iran in the same category, where so much of the focus of the national security apparatus and the media has been on China, has been on Russia. But there's no doubt that this, in part, could be a bid to get attention. Yep. But it's also a sign of the instability in the relationship between this Biden administration and the Saudis that has not really had a full vet out in terms of what the equities are. So, yeah, definitely troubling, definitely needs to be watched.
But Kelly, for so long under Trump, we saw people were literally afraid to stick their head up because they weren't sure what Trump was going to do militarily. Now we've got a guy who's pretty much openly admitted he's willing to do anything to get us off the global stage, like we saw with the pullout in Afghanistan. What do you say about the response he should have to this?
Well, you know, everything seems to be falling apart. This weekend alone, right? You had in Syria, you had ISIS insurgents trying to free terrorists from prison. You had China having a large their air force basically invading Taiwan's zone, the largest incursion since, this fall. In now you have Ukraine and Russia and the aggression towards Ukraine. This is just another example of how weak Joe Biden is on the world stage. And you have all of these, bad actors, these dictatorships, these authoritarians, all now vying for power because they see a vacuum in Joe Biden's weak leadership.
Yeah, it is stunning. What were you saying, Rick?
Carl, I want to just add to that because I think Kelly's right on something, is that a year ago, We would never have imagined, as we were talking about the Abraham Accords and really normalization of a lot of different issues in the Middle East. We've made so much progress. A year ago, if you would have told me that UAE would be under attack from missile attacks from the Houthis, I would have said there's no possible way. But when they're making these incursions under the Biden administration, there's an admittance on their part. They couldn't have done this during the Trump administration.
Right.
There's no possible way there would have been actions immediately. But this is a huge concern now that we see another area of the world going up into a crisis mode. The Biden team has a lot on their plate.
Well, and that's the thing too, is there was so much restriction on terrorist movements, and anytime they'd stick their head up or commit an attack, Trump would push it right back down. And the lack of intervention in the Middle East, folks, like, look, this place has been at war for 2,000 plus years. They're going to continue to be at war without an acting outside force, and America really hasn't stepped up. I want to get to COVID-19, okay? So, Kelly, this morning, Dr. Anthony Fauci says that the best case scenario is that we can bring this virus under control and learn to live with it. Take a listen. What do you got for us?
Hey, good morning, Carl. Yeah, we have a lot of stories that are catching our attention this morning. First, let me take you to New York, where police officers in the city lined the streets as the body of rookie officer Jason Riviera fatally shot while responding to a domestic violence call. He was escorted to a funeral home in his home neighborhood uptown, and the 22-year-old joined the force less than 2 years ago. Now, a second officer shot remains in critical condition, while the suspect was shot and wounded by another officer responding to that same call. And a terrifying... And welcome back to Wake Up America. It's now time to get you caught up with some rapid reactions. Now, as we just mentioned, you'll never see another NFL divisional round like we just had, with all 4 games decided on the final play. Madness, insanity, and a whole lot of profanity. Bleacher Report certainly agrees, saying Bengals win on last-second field goal, 49ers win on last-second field goal, Rams win on last-second field goal, Chiefs win on a touchdown in overtime. A divisional round weekend was unreal. And this post responded with some specifics about how just unreal it really was. Bengals sacked 9 times by Titans. Titans had the ball with 20 seconds left. The Packers defense held the 49ers offense to 6 points. Tampa Bay recovered 4 Rams fumbles, and the Bills took the lead with 13 seconds left. Others scrapped all those statistics to the wild weekend and just focused on the finale. Correction, it was 3 divisional games and 1 Super Bowl. Now, that would be in reference to the absolute barn burner between Buffalo and Kansas City, which has people questioning the overtime rules. But is it already being hailed as one of the greatest playoff games of all time? Which had people saying things like this: holy mother of God, this game is bananas. The NFL, they put out their own rapid reaction, showing the Chiefs celebration with this caption: the feeling when you just won one of the best playoff games ever. Now, this user took it a step further than that, posting the best professional football game of all time. Simple. And this user simply went on with superlatives: greatest weekend of football ever. Players past and present certainly agreed, including Johnny Manziel, aka Johnny Football, saying this: never seen anything like this in my life. And that's by a man who has certainly seen his share of playoff drama, Justin Tuck. Now, this has been the best weekend of NFL playoff games ever, period. Carl?
So I'm guessing that there was like some football game this weekend, or
there
did
were
I miss something?
games this past weekend. No big deal. No biggie.
No big. The greatest games ever, apparently. All right, thanks, Alex. All right, let's welcome in former Defense Intelligence Agency officer to the author of Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America, Rebecca Koffler. And also our Powerhouse panel is still with us, commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, and best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halperin. We're also joined our former ambassador to Germany and knows a couple things about national intelligence and national security, Rick Grinnell. All right, so Rebecca, I want to go to you first on this. After this press conference last week where President Biden seemingly gave Russia what appeared to be an opening for a minor incursion into Ukraine, all eyes are on this right now. What do you say about this?
Well, President Biden just made a very strategic mistake. He violated the sacrosanct principle of strategic deterrence, which is intentional ambiguity. Russian President Putin interpreted President Biden's words as go ahead, attack Ukraine, and we're not going to intervene, just like what he promised to him at his latest virtual rendezvous at the end of December.
Yeah. So, Rick, you know a thing or two about this. You were in the White House when it was he had to push this back from when the last time Biden was in office and this happened. What do you think about the rising tensions over there? What do you think that the only way to deal with this actually is?
Look, obviously what Putin and the Russians, and I would put Xi and the Chinese, are doing right now is testing the Biden administration, and the Biden administration is failing. They've messaged weakness from the beginning, including the debacle in Afghanistan. So I think, Putin has Google. He sees what's going on, and he sees the press conferences. I would be interested, Rebecca, what is your thoughts on the German actions right now? We know that Chancellor Merkel is gone. There's a new Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. And the Germans seem to be taking a bigger role in Europe and with NATO allies, telling them to, back down and not help the Ukrainians. What are you hearing on the German role right now in Ukraine?
Right. Well, the Germans have been quite consistent in their policy towards Russia. They've been cozy with the Russians for many, many years. And that's why the NATO alliance has been divided, which was Putin's goal all along. It is very difficult to mount some sort of challenge for the United States to lead if NATO is divided. So I don't think Germans are going to join the coalition of the willing to actually mount any kind of counter strategy towards the Russians. And this was Putin's goal all along. He knew how this was going to play out. He's profiling German